Hello and welcome. This is part 3 of Conversation Reconnection. As I mentioned, I'm in a resort in Mexico right now, but I did want to create these videos for you to help you with better communication in your relationships. There's lots going on here. You may hear people talking in the background and all sorts of things. I spent hours and hours and hours creating this for you, and I hope you'll find it helpful. A lot of people struggle with what to say and how to say it, and that's why I've created this series for you. So let's get going. My name is Eileen Head. I am a transformational mindset, personality and relationship coach. My website is eileenhead.com, and we will get going with the last part of this series. So here we go. Thank you for joining me in this series. Welcome back. It's supposed to be, no, that's correct. I hope you find part 1 and part 2 helpful. I'm gonna stop sharing. Here we are, the last part 3, Conversation Reconnection. And thank you for joining me in this series. Welcome back. I have it's taken me hours and hours to create this. So I hope you found part 1 and part 2 helpful. Let's review the past 2 videos. Conversation Reconnection Part 1, we talked about what causes disconnection, unresolved issues, conflict, different perspectives, Enneagram personalities, being unconscious and unaware, and energy together. In Part 2, we talked about set up. The process is critical. It really is. Attitude and intention, language to use. It's really all about you, your story, components to add. So I gave you a bit of background information to make the conversation more successful. In part 3, we're going to talk about the communication rules, negotiation, why there's resistance, how to set the mood, start the conversation, and the process. So let's get going. Why the resistance? Resistance generally comes from insecurities, lack of self-confidence, and fear. Reassuring can go a long way. Lots of people are not comfortable in speaking up. This isn't a skill we learned, and we bring a lot of those childhood patterns with us. Let's face it, a lot of us were told you're better to be seen than heard. And we haven't learned the skills of negotiation or talking, or even how to express to get our needs met. When we ask others if something is bothering them, we often get up, nope, there's nothing wrong. And yet we can sense, feel, know that there is something amiss because their action and energy are telling us they are uncomfortable, unhappy, resistant, or angry. So how do you get others to communicate with you? You may not be able to get them to engage if they choose not to participate. And they might choose that in the beginning, those old patterns of will still be there. Choosing not to respond, discuss, or talk is passive aggressive behavior, which is the most powerful way of controlling. And so you might say something like, are you aware that passive aggressiveness is controlling and it leaves both of us stuck? Here is some sentences I have learned that might be helpful. This is very effective in opening communication to resolve issues. So you could ask your partner, I've learned these 3 stem sentences, and maybe we can use them at times in when we're having challenges or when we want to inform or communicate. So the sentences are, when you do that, I feel. What I want or need is. It's very clear. It helps people to be clearer, because if you haven't had clear communication in the past, for instance, a lot of women will say, I'm lonely, and so they're or they will feel, I need you. No, here's a good one. I need you to help me more, or to communicate. What they're really looking for is validation and appreciation, but they ask for help. Would you help with the housework? Would you help with this? It's more about the value and valuing them so that you will be helpful to them. However, learning conversation negotiation techniques will assist you with trust and how to create the process. Cover any resistance by saying, so always ask for permission. Would you agree that we have not been able to have open discussions in the past? I really want to learn and understand you better. I think I often make assumptions about how you might be feeling and do not realize that you might be just as frustrated, angry, and resentful as I am. I could make assumptions that are not true and act on those assumptions, believing that you no longer love me, you no longer want me, and you might be feeling the same. So when you open a discussion and with something that is relatable, chances are your partner is feeling the same way you do. They may not show it on the outside, but they may have the same insecurities. The basic one is, do you still love me? Am I valuable to you? Do you still want me? So when you reassure with these sort of things, it really helps to open the other person up. And they know that you're not going to be using, remember in the past one, the blaming, you're going for the win-win, right? Remember to set up your intention to compromise, discuss, and resolve, or at the very least inform. Can we agree that we are open to communicating and resolving issues that come up? If they are not resolvable, can we agree to just see things differently? And so sometimes it's better to just, I've given my perspective, you've given your perspective. We may not agree, but let's agree to allow each other to have their own perspectives. Relate to how they might be feeling. I'm not always sure of what you're feeling and thinking. I'm not always sure what you're feeling, and would like to open some dialogue so that both of us might share how we are feeling. Be honest with how you feel. I've not been able to comfortably discuss this with you, and it's affecting how I feel about you in the relationship. Be the hero in this relationship. Someone needs to step up and be the leader. You may not completely get the outcome first time around, but if you're patient, you will build a trusting process. The other person will become less defensive, more trusting, and open to working together. They too will reap the benefits of being understood in this process. Everything goes back to childhood, and do you remember coming home and knowing you were in trouble and talking real fast and defending yourself, and sometimes you deflected the punishment? Well, we still have some of those old patterns with us, and some of those patterns are not speaking, some of them are not taking responsibility, etc. Change the pattern. Do you remember this from the last video I did? The pattern needs to change, and your partner may not have the ability of skills to start the process. And that's why you can share these videos with them, or you can write out some of the dialogue and give it to them and say, hey, you get to respond. Here's some of the dialogue that might help you. It might need you to do the heavy lifting, and it will be so worth it to change the energy. And quite possibly you might get the love and relationship you desire. So let's start the process. Any, all below, and suggestions given previously are conversation suggestions which could be used initially or at different times. Only use the order or the components that fits with you and your relationship. So here's some actual script. You want to start by reassuring. Do reassure. I'm not mad at you and you are not in trouble. And this statement is very important as a starter. I really care about you and our relationship. I have learned a new way of how we can share how we are feeling without either one of us being right or wrong. I am hoping to open some discussion between us. Do you think we could have a glass of wine and chat later? There is something I'd like to talk about. Wait and do not talk until you've received an answer. And don't make this into a big, long dialogue. The simple is better. I'd like to set something up. You're not in trouble. I care about you and our relationship. Could we chat later? Agree on a time. Would 9 o'clock tonight work for you? Set the mood. Choose a time when both of you are relaxed to sit down together, possibly with a glass of wine. In the middle of a heated argument is not the time to introduce the format. Create a nice mood by having the wine glasses out, a bottle opened, maybe nice music playing. This really takes down the resistance and the defensiveness of the other person. Start the conversation. You can even copy it out and have this script to read. I want you to know that I love you. I want to be with you, and if that ever changes, I will let you know. Very important. However, if you are not there anymore, relationships do die. If communication isn't there, only use the truth. Pick out the parts where it's suitable to you. I really want this relationship to work for both of us and would like to see if we can open some dialogue to create a warm and loving relationship together. Let's see. Okay. If you're nervous, you could say, I'm really nervous about having this conversation with you, but there is something I feel we need to discuss. And because I'm nervous, is it okay that I read you this process that I've learned about? So start with the positive. I'd like to start with what I think our strengths as a couple are. And what do you think our best qualities are? Maybe that's even a full evening discussion or a first discussion. What I really like about you is when I'm feeling this, or when you do that, I feel valued. Together I feel we're really good at this, or you handle these things in our relationship and I do these. Maybe one does the financial, one does the cooking, one does the shopping. I think these components really, really work well, but I think we can also communicate better. I think it would be helpful for us to set up some communication rules. So formulate the negotiation rules by which you can discuss issues using both of your input. So, do you agree that each of us needs to input, negotiate? And so let's set up the communication rules and what they're going to be. So, what do you think we need to do to negotiate when we have a disagreement or we want to come to an agreement about something? Here are some suggestions you can use. Can we agree that when we have a disagreement, one of us will talk first and the other will listen without interrupting? Then the other person will talk and the other person listens. In the beginning, if there are interruptions, one of us will gently raise our hand as a visual so the other can keep talking. This allows each of us to have a voice and feel fully heard. Remember, This is not a half an hour monologue. You are going to want to make your point clearly. You're going to want to be concise, and you're going to watch your tone and how you're saying things, the words. Are you willing to negotiate this, or are you locked into your stance and this behavior? And then use the duct tape and wait. Give pauses between what you were saying. Some people are quick thinkers and want to move past things really quickly, and others need to think about things, or you get their agreement much slower. Can we discuss this? Can we discuss this now? Or when would you be willing to? So that's when you're in the middle of a discussion. You're setting up the negotiate rules. We agree to bring up issues for discussion as soon as they happen instead of letting them stew to grow resentment. There are some behaviors that are relationship deal breakers. This behavior for me is unacceptable. And so you say to the person, I want to let you know what's my deal breakers and tell me what yours are. Because as I showed you with the Enneagram personalities, each one thinks, feels, acts, reacts differently. Perspectives are different. So what's confronting to you, to another person, maybe this is just the way I speak. I speak very directly. So it's monitoring that, being aware of your impact on your partner, and if your partner says, well, you're too aggressive or you're too direct, then say, okay, in the future, I'm willing to soften my tone. Maybe you'll put a hand up and let me know if that's what's going on. Some of the comments may be repetitive throughout these videos, but often the wording is a little different, and I want to give you more options for attempting to connect with your partner in this process. So renegotiate. If you agree to something and later change your mind, you need to be able to renegotiate. So another rule could be, we agree that we can revisit a situation to negotiate unseen circumstances that might affect us not being able to keep our word. So maybe maybe you've come to an agreement that, on Saturday mornings, we're going to clean the house first thing. But something comes up that you don't feel you can keep your promise. And so you need to be able to go back and renegotiate. I know we had an agreement to clean house Saturday mornings. This is what's come up, and I feel it's important. Would it be okay if I clean the house later? But you set a time and then you meet that deadline. You were in agreement, but when you had time to think it over, you no longer agree. Go back and renegotiate. At the time I agreed to whatever it was, having thought more about that, I feel differently about it and would like to renegotiate or revisit the issue. Allow your partner to come back if they feel they need to renegotiate. It creates good connection, and it might take a few tries in the beginning to resolve issues. So it's not cut and dried. Okay, you said that, now you're not doing it, and the rigid stance, and you're locked into behavior. What we're doing is unlocking rigid stances, right? At the very least, inform that you are no longer in agreement. So here's an analogy. Relationships are like a three-legged race. You each have one leg out and one leg together, one leg out and each of your legs together. If one of you trips and falls, the other must compensate, or both of you are going to come tumbling down. Work together and you will both win. That's what relationships are about. And if you're looking for your partner to win and they get a sense that you're looking out for them, most of the time your partner will come around to then reciprocating. It's sort of like mirroring behaviors. They learn from you and your example, and that's how you shift energy and patterns. It's emotions. In relationships, one of the greatest challenges is emotions, expressing them and dealing with them. Although neither is good or bad, we can become afraid of them when they surface. Not knowing how to deal with them makes us feel out of control when they surface, and we become afraid to express them, or uncomfortable when our partner expresses them. For those of you who are more emotional, I want you to realize that a partner can feel very manipulated if emotions are used as a way of a way out of accepting responsibility. So every time your partner tries to raise the issue, you cry. They don't know how to handle it, so they back off. The pattern gets to be like this and nothing is ever resolved. So, they don't like to feel that way, or a person may be suppressing their emotions because they don't want to be seen as weak, or when they get into their emotions, they are unable to express how they're feeling. So you can always negotiate. We talked about negotiate. I'm feeling very emotional right now. Is it okay if we take a few minutes? I'm just going to go off in another room, and I'm going to center myself, and then I'm going to come back and let's continue the conversation. Doesn't that feel more empowering to both of you? In the past, we may have hurt others and have come to trust not speaking out. We may have the perception that expressing emotions will cause conflict, and they could in the beginning. It is the way you express them that creates the reaction. As we get more comfortable with our own emotions and accept them for a part of who we are, we can then express them more comfortably. Keeping them all bottled up is like keeping a blanket wrapped around you all the time. It insulates you and also restricts you. So it keeps people away, and it stops you from being your true self. It's okay to have emotions. Again, it's how you manage them. It's okay to speak directly. It's how you manage them. It's okay oops, almost lost me there. Hang on a second. It's okay to need time to come back and express your emotions. All of those things are valid as long as you inform the other person. I do not have my professional setup here, and I'm having issues. Okay, let's move on. If these emotions spill from our eyes, triggering old beliefs of weakness, change your perspective. Tears are a release of energy from a block in your body, allowing your body to heal. Anyone who is able to cry, even after a highly emotional state, will admit they feel calmer and more relaxed. And I believe men are learning to cry more often, which is really healthy. Tears are also an important release at times of joy and opening the heart. So if your partner is an emotional partner, and instead of getting angry when they become emotional, what would it be like if you reached out and took their hand and you said, it's okay. It's okay to be emotional. I'm going to give you a minute. Then it's your responsibility to allow the emotions, but to calm yourself, ground yourself, and then come back to a place where you can talk together and everyone feels comfortable. Remember, it is not what we say, but how we say it with tone and the words that we use. Just because you believe something is true does not make it true. And concurrently, just because someone says something about you does not make it so. So someone, we're talking about emotion. Oh, you're so emotional. And the next person will say, I love your emotional part. I love your vulnerability. I love you sharing your heart. Can be both ways. It's learning how to deal with it. Here's what we need to understand. It is our perceptions that trigger our emotions. It is your current perception. Sometimes more information sheds light on a situation and your perception changes dramatically. And along with that, so does our emotions. Facts versus emotions perspective. So some people don't trust their emotions and they feel out of control when they surface. So the more logical personalities and the more logical people, they don't like emotions because it screws up their logic. And their logic is what they feel is their foundation. That's their go-to. So, that's why they push away emotion and It also keeps them stuck. Important to realize that these facts, so the more logical people will always quote facts to you. These are the facts right now until the research comes out, and then the facts can completely change in the opposite direction. There are opposing data on drinking red wine. Therefore, the facts are no longer, people will say, well, the facts are the facts and they're more reliable. They're more reliable than feelings because feelings change. I feel this way. I'm very emotional. Now I've expressed my emotions. Now I'm calmer. And now I feel differently. All things can change and allow that to be true. Emotions can make relationships messy, but a rigid stance will never get you what you want. Emotions are essential for the richness of life and opening your heart to love. Emotions can create empathy. Empathy is really huge in relationships. Without them, we would experience a very flat existence. Speaking up and releasing emotions are critical for your emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. One of the greatest books, simple, easy to use, 4 simple facts that can be absolutely life-changing in relationships. The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. The first one is be impeccable with your word. One of the biggest reasons for relationships to break down is not keeping your word. You must keep your word. You must give your word and you must keep your word. That builds trust, that builds integrity, that builds responsibility. That makes the other person know that they can trust you to be honest and upfront and reliable. Speak with integrity. I'm going to see if I can make, oops, I can't. Let me go back. I'm going to put my glasses on here. Speak with integrity and say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Second one, don't take anything personally. That's one of the biggest things in relationship. We personalize other people's stuff. We personalize their reactions to you. We personalize how we've reacted to you. Nothing others do is because of you. Do you understand that? It is because of them. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. That's really important. That's a big one I teach in my coaching. Let go of outcome, which is similar to don't personalize stuff. Their stuff is their stuff. And when you're triggered, then it's your stuff as well. If you're not triggered, it's their stuff. The next one is don't make assumptions. Big thing in a relationship. We're always trying to figure out what the other person is thinking, but we're doing it from our own perspective. And, we expect the other person to be the same of us, but that would be very boring in a relationship. You want someone who brings in different perspectives. So find the courage to ask questions and express what you really want. Communicate with others and clearly as you can to avoid misunderstanding, sadness, and drama. With just this agreement, you can completely transform your life. Drama. When you start to learn these tools of not personalizing, let go of outcome, choose to, choose not to, you can let go of the drama. I don't have a lot of drama in my life anymore because I'm not reacting to the triggers. I'm not reacting to other people. There's people who've said some really mean things to me, and it's like, that's okay. That's your perception. I'm not triggered anymore. And the interesting thing is I don't attract people who love the drama, the drama of the situation, the expressiveness, all of that. Those sort of people don't stay around me long because I don't engage in the drama. The last agreement, always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to when you're sick. Under any circumstances, simply do your best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. These are really, I would encourage you to pick up this book. It's a really good guide to personal freedom. So let's review. Part 1, what causes disconnection, unresolved issues, conflict, different perspectives, Enneagram personalities, being unconscious and unaware, and your energy together. Part 2, setting up the process is critical, attitude and intention, language to use. It's really all about you, your story, telling your story over and over again will keep you in the victim perspective, components to add. And then part 3, what we did today, we talked about the communication rules, how to negotiate, why there is resistance, set the mood, start the conversation and the process. Oops. Here's an equation that I really love to use, and it's very powerful. Choices plus action equals outcome. Choice, action equals outcome. And this languaging, choose to or choose not to, is a simple concept, but it's very, very powerful. I taught my kids this from a very young age. If you choose to do this, the consequences are going to be this. Choose to do this or choose not to do this. It's either punishment or reward. Punishment, same goes in relationships. So choose to take the steps sooner than later to create the connection you desire. In order to be healthy in a relationship, you need to be healthy as an individual. Happiness is always an inside job. And that's why, people come to me sometimes in the stay or go coaching, and they come and they say, okay, I'm ready to go. I've had it. I don't want to stay anymore. But we start at the beginning of working on themselves, identifying their own patterns, taking responsibility, changing their languaging. My goal is always to re-engage, re-energize, reconnect the relationship. And on many, many, many occasions, the relationship turns around with just one person working on themselves. And that's why don't ever let that be a barrier. Well, my partner won't come for help. My partner won't come. When you change how you're responding to the other person, everything shifts. Thank you for joining me in this series. I hope you found the information helpful. I offer a wide variety of coaching services for individuals, singles, and couples to get the love they desire. You can go to my website, eileenhead.com. Couples and singles hire me to find or reconnect to deeply intimate, meaningful relationships, because at times, most people feel stuck, trapped, and powerless to change the situation they are in. And I do that by helping you to shift your mindset, release old beliefs, blocks, and patterns, and interpreting your relationship, your personality traits, so you can get the love you desire. The shift comes. It is a journey to creating a juicier life and getting the love you desire. Shift your mindset, shift your perspective, shift your energy, and you will shift your life. Please go to my website, eileenhead.com. There are many resources there. I offer you a free call. We can hop on a call and I can give you some insights of what's happening now and what the resources are that I have for you. I have many free resources. So once again, thank you for watching this 3-part series. I hope you enjoy it. I would love if you would shoot me a comment, eileenhead.com. You can find me on Facebook, and I would love a testimonial. If this 3-part series has helped you in any way, please reach out to me. My passion is helping people so they no longer struggle. They build loving, connected relationships. So So blessings to you in this Christmas season. And if you're watching this at a later time, reconnection conversation is very empowering. Bye for now and blessings.